téve csoportba, ne izguljatok, be lesztek téve.
Jó, nekem tegnap kiírt
Köszönöm
valami, hogy
szépen.
probléma van valami szöveget, nem tudom, hogy mi menet.
Hát most ezzel sajnos nem tudunk foglalkozni, de mivel sikerült most bejelentkezned, és hogyha bejelentkezve maradsz, akkor egész biztos, hogy be tudsz kerülni a csoportba. Köszönöm szépen.
Pánka teraz má svoju share screen, to preto.
Maybe I have to tell it in English or the translator translated it?
Hej, ešte to nespustili asi oni v
the
Sedne, že
translator
môžete
is
všetky
not-
4 naraz ísť. Musíš počkať, kým ti dajú povolenie asi na to. To povolenie už máš, ale...
So Marty, please tell the sisters in Slovakia that they will be able to join the small group after the presentation, but they have to wait 5 minutes.
Kinga translated all to sisters, so they know it.
Oh, thank you. Good. Very good.
She's
Thank you.
going. Just with the presentation, as she's sharing right now her share screen in Slovak presentation, she cannot share because the Panka is sharing this share screen. So there's something has to be done that Kinga can also share. I don't know what.
For the English translation, we cannot translate yet because we are not been made translators. So sorry about that. We are waiting for a solution.
Testvérek, egyelőre
Kinga,
azt
keby si
látom,
nemohla spustiť tú prezentáciu kedykoľvek, tak iba hovor tu na, povedz
try
to do
now.
veľkej skupiny, hovor to.
Marti,
Nemôžem povedať nikomu asi, že?
Marti, tell Kinga to do it
Pustilo ťa,
now.
no skúš to šerovať. Nevidím ťa ešte. Aha, už teraz ťa budem za chvíľku vidieť, už vidím, že ťa sa spustilo. Hej, už vidím, Kinga, Čaptar, ja si to dám teba PowerPoint a vidím ťa. Pekne, daj si na celú obrazov. Super, funguje to. Môžeš to, tak, keď to máš takto na slide, tak my to vidíme na celek. A keď to máš na takých, vieš, ako iba slajdov, tak aj my to vidíme na slajdoch. Tak, keď to máš ty, tak to vidíme aj my. Ale ty si môžeš dať tam na bok, tam, že view, hore, a daj si, že slide by slide speaker. Si to odškrtni. To je hneď hore právo, tak, jak sa čierna obrazovka končí. A tam máš gallery alebo speakers, tak skús to dodať. Keď nás vidíš, tak dobre. To znamená, keď nás vidíš, tak to je dobre, to máš urobené. Takže budeš vidieť aspoň toto a budeš vidieť, alebo si daj si, že speaker, aby si mala speaker odkliknutý, no. A tým pádom v malom okienku budeš mať you.
miért van az, hogy a spanyol prezentációt nem
Tam
lehet...
vedľa toho v čiernom okienku, tam je
Elma, hogyha a side by side és a speakerre mész, vagy a speaker látod, ott van a magyar.
A tam máš side by side.
Igen, de nem tudom eltüntetni a spanyolt.
Én se, de lekicsinyedten tudod, hogyha azt a középső vonalat elhúzod egészen balra. Van egy szürke vonal.
Én se tudom.
Ha odamész a határra, van egy szürke vonal, és azt el tudod hozni
Vidíš
egész
to, Kinga,
balra.
hej?
Nem tudom, egyáltalán nem megy nekem.
Én is ezt csináltam most, amit az Eszter mondott.
Ale počuj, a toto view tam vidíš?
Meg biztos meg lehet azt
Hore vpravo, ako končí ti čierna obrazovka.
Mit csináljunk? Én nem tudom.
Hogyha odamész a két kép közé, beállítod azt, hogy side by side.
Napravo hore, čo máš tam?
Nincs.
És utána...
Elnézést, de hallom most a szlovákot is, úgyhogy zavaró, nem baj, hát minden.
A nad tými malými okienkami by si mala mať také, že view.
Akkor most mondjam, hogy ne. Akkor tudjátok.
Máš tam dátum, máš tam také, že hodiny ide, že koľko času a vedľa toho, že view.
No ja to nemám, nincs.
No akokoľvek,
Testvérek, a technikus kéri, mindenki kapcsolja ki a
Zmenši si
mikrofonját.
teraz prezentáciu, učiteľ mi
The
ukáže. Zmenši si ju,
technician
daj
is
si ju normálne
asking
na...
everybody to mute the microphone.
Vráť sa na slide.
Archie, please mute the microphone. We ask everyone to mute their microphone. Okay?
No a teraz skús nájsť to view, tam či nebude.
Archie, please. The technician is asking everyone to mute the microphone. We are working on the technical problems and soon we are going to start.
Vidíš to?
Az a gond, János,
Vidím tvoju šípku občas, a keby si išla viac doprava, a tam ako je participants a medzi nimi. No medzi nimi vedľa toho.
testvérek, a magyar PPT spotlightolva van, a többit lehet választani a viewból. Sisters, the Hungarian version of the PPT is on Spotlight. The other versions can be chosen from the top. If you open next to the green sign, you open View Options. From Chaplár Kinga, you can choose the Slovak version. From Panka Szádvári, you can choose the Spanish version. From Terezia Susnik, you can choose the English version of the PPT. The Hungarian version is spotlighted. Tehát a magyar az spotlightolva van, a többit választani lehet. And please keep your microphones turned off. Thank you so much.
Kinga, povedz niečo, slovíčko, povedz alebo dve.
Jó reggelt kívánok minden kedves Zoom résztvevőnek és a YouTube-on.
Good morning for all the participants on Zoom or on YouTube. The second day of our conference, and this is about dignity again. And this morning it will be about the dignity of the family. Will be Vizi Zsigmond Zsuzsa, who is going to share her experience about family. She's absolutely worthy for this position to share views because she's many children and many grandchildren. In fact, it should be even her husband to participate here because whenever she speaks about family, it's two of them. It's a great honor for me to know her because she used to be my colleague in the Catholic charity organization, and we used to work together in order to organize conferences. And she's a family therapist, and thus she is very well capable and able to share her views and give us good insights about this important topic.
Nem hallani. Nem hallani.
Le lehet némítva. Nem hallunk semmit. Ez így jól lehet.
Az előadót fel kéne hangosítani.
Testvérek, tudjuk mindjárt.
Mielőtt ebbe a nagy témába belefognék, szeretném...
Before I start this big topic, it's a very rich and widespread topic, and I just tried to pay attention to some important parts of this big topic. It's not going to be an integral approach, just some spotlights that we can later on think about this topic.
Védőszentje a mesebeli hősnek.
On this journey on earth, that very particular bread
baked for very long journeys is the family. Its kind words, its spirit, its patron saint, its fairy tale hero. Who goes on the road without that will find himself amidst greater dangers, more vulnerable in every way. Sometimes it's the very last refuge. A family is the place where in icy times we can secretly celebrate the secret, the consciousness of belonging. I would start with András Sütös writing because these few lines beautifully summarize the strength of the family, the secret of its dignity, and what it means to live in a family, what it means to exist in a family while embracing a human being, what it means to start from there and to experience this journey that we will have to walk on until the end of our life. The first line already mentions our life as a journey, a haversack on our shoulders in which we carry bread baked especially for long journeys from our mother. But what is baked into this bread? On our journey, dangers are also ahead of us, icy times. And when we get into trouble, how great if there is a place to return to, where people wait for us, where we can regain strength, where we can rest in order to continue our journey. In my haversack, there was a lot of treasures too. Into my bread, my parents baked a lot of things. They got married in 1943, were young and happy, started their common life full of hopes and plans. They got a small apartment from their families where they started to live together. They just started when World War II broke out, though. My father was rapidly taken to a war prisoners camp in the Soviet Union, and my mother was shocked as she saw their little house being bombed and their apartment become uninhabitable. Thus, the only solution was to go to her parents. They hid away in a summer vacation house in the outskirts of Budapest to survive the war. My father, in his captivity, cut trees in a pine forest with his fellow prisoners in freezing cold -40 degrees. He experienced deprivation, starvation, the horrors of the prison camp for 2.5 years. They lived in barracks, many froze, starved, got insane or depressed. Later, his returning fellow prisoners told us how my father encouraged his despairing companions with serenity, games, and fellowship. Upon his return home, he was traumatized by the news that his parents and siblings had fled to America. He loved them very much. And the little apartment which he had with my mom was lost too. Shortly afterwards, he was dismissed from his position in the Supreme Court because he was class alien. And his desire to become judge was reduced to nothing. Very difficultly, he could get a job as a legal counselor in a factory. That world was very strange to him. He tried to integrate. His positive love of life and humanity, and he was able to accept himself easily, and he also gained so much prestige for his knowledge that they overlooked his different ideological views. This is very well illustrated by a small story he told us a lot of times, and we always laughed on that. It was on the participation in the Easter ceremonies, and he was summoned by his director, who said, "Dear Mike, please at least don't carry the baldachin that time." It was obvious that someone was observing him regularly and reporting on him. My two brothers and I were born at that most difficult time. The family memory has preserved a glimpse of this in the form of a song. Our family is in trouble, little Sue is in the cradle. I was born in 1951. Tough men-trying years ensued. The suburban house without any comforts meant a life with many struggles. We kids didn't feel anything of that. Close to the nature, spending time with simple but all the more exciting games, we enjoyed life in the love of our family. I learned living faith in my family. After Sunday Mass, we discussed the gospel and the sermon during cheerful breakfasts. I have a lot of nice souvenirs on that. My parents' rite was a Saturday afternoon get-together where the bigger family gathered and family stories were told. Going back to my great-grandparents, my father had a lot of stories, jokes, and sayings that we know up to this day, and we also tell to our children. I grew up in this atmosphere and learned that it is good to live, that God lives, in whom we can trust. My father treated the difficulties with sparkling humor. His personality created an atmosphere in which it was good to grow up. My parents imagined a much better future for us at the beginning of their marriage, but that was ruined by the war. Their daily lives were characterized by new challenges and struggles. Facing the challenges, persevering, accepting their new position, endurance, these made up the dignity of our family. I drew my vocation from this legacy. When I was young and searching, I was interested in helping professions. At the No. 2 Children's Hospital, under the leadership of Elaine Ports, I worked with children with cancer and leukemia and their families. I experienced the pain experienced in families, the suffering and anxiety of children and their parents, compassion and help. That was a very important time of my life. I faced the unresolved pain of life. That is where I learned what it means to live in present. Like so many young people, I also was determined by an honest search. I really reflected deeply where strength does come from, what gave my parents the inner deep love from which we could grow and experience wholeness. Where does the intuitive skill come from that enabled me to convey security in the most difficult minutes? I knew very deeply that that was not me. In uncertainty, security. What a paradox. After graduating from college and as a family mother, I completed family therapy training. My marriage, my relationship with my husband, the creation of a home, the expectation and birth of our children, the support and love of our wider family and community, of our friends. These were all maturation paths that led to family therapy. This meant an inner awareness for me, which helped me understand the events of my life even better. I was a little bit more conscious about all of this.
Gondoljuk át.
Let us rethink.
Ja, most a másik van, a 3-as. Emberségünk gyökerei. De itt mást látok. Az egész életünket végig
Let us think
kísérő.
the roots of our humanity. Because of the search that accompanies us throughout our whole lives, I would go back to the beginnings. The Creator God is love. The flow of love between the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit is an intense force that acts both inward and outward, sustains the pulsation of the world, transmits life. This relationship nourishes, enlives, renews the world. Over and over again. Nem hallani. Te hallasz? Aha, ők is rájöttek.
Testvérek, egyáltalán nincs hang a magyaron már régóta.
Bocsánat, és
Tudjuk, türelmet.
Most azt akarom mondani, hogy az előbb egy másik tábla volt. Mert én most az emberségünk gyökeréről szeretnék. Jó. Gondoljuk át az emberségünk gyökereit. Egész életünket.
Let us rethink the roots of our humanity. Because of the search that accompanies us throughout our whole lives, I would go back to the beginnings. The Creator God is love. The flow of love between the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit is an intense force that acts both inward and outward, sustains the pulsation of the world, transmits life. This relationship nourishes, enlives, renews the world over and over again. I quote a speech of Pope John Paul II, 1979 in Mexico. Our God is not loneliness, but family. Because the essence of fatherhood, boyhood, and family, that is love, can be found in him. This love, which is present in the divine family, is the Holy Spirit. The overflow of the love of the Trinitarian God is creation, mankind, man, and woman. His will, plan, desire was the family. In this way, this one argument also sufficiently justifies the dignity of the family. It is this trust, this honor, that we can be his companions in creation. God created us in his own image. I quote Pope Benedict XVI on the occasion of Angelus on December 27, 2009. The human family is, in a sense, an icon of the Trinity, both through love between persons and through the fertility of love. We need each other. As we read in the Pastoral Constitution of Vatican Council II, for by his innermost nature, man is a social being, and unless he relates himself to others, he can neither live nor develop his potential. That's why he created mankind as man and woman right from the start, as we can read in Genesis 1:27. Men and woman, similarity and difference in unity and freedom, as one of our friends put it so aptly. They're similar in terms of humanity, but they are different in terms of their roles, tasks, vocations, and physical abilities. A child is the fruit of their love through their unity, mutual commitment, and self-surrender. Their freedom is represented by a symmetrical relationship in which there is neither possession nor subordination. This togetherness is a secret in itself, a mystery. This relationship it's a mission, and this relationship surrounds the child, the children. This is the family.
Johannes Tauler,
Rhineland mystics from the Middle Ages, says in one of his speeches, "Your material is love, because that is what I created you from." What does that mean? Why could Master Tauler say, "Your material is love"? The fabric of our lives, the essence of our lives that permeates, makes alive in life's relationships. Love must be as tangible as matter. And here is the essence of the sentence of Tauler, that love must be tangible. We have received our ability to love, our ability to give and receive love from God. The basic need of our life is love, which also gives us security. Numerous researches and experiences prove this fact. But if I stick to the simple example that almost every parent with a small child lives, if for some reason the mother is not at home, the little child, to gain safety, embraces a piece of his mother's clothing and smells it. This makes up for the lack of immediate proximity. Most of the families who turn to us come because their marital relationship is in crisis. Love has disappeared from their family. Their relationship has cooled down, and in order to keep each other's attention awake, their relationship hunger and need for love are often signaled to each other by hurting each other. The family is the place where the child can learn that God lives, that there is good and there is evil. Where the child learns that she was called to life by God. He wanted him to be. His name is written in his palm. He has a plan for his life. All this gives dignity to our lives, to your life. Little Therese says so wonderful. God loves every creature in a way as if it was alone in the whole creation. After retreat day, one of my little sons came home with a notebook, in it a picture of a house, and over it was written, "My home, that is where they know me and love me." As Pope Benedict XVI said in his New Year's greeting 2007, the family is the cradle of love and life, the smallest living cell of society.
Az ember lényegét tekintve
The human being is essentially different from all created being because man is able to see himself, see his life, is able to look at it from a distance, from a certain distance. We learn this self-reflection in our environment through our social relationships because we get a picture of ourselves through the reflections of others. The first such mirror is our parents and our family. We remember the past events of our lives. The events of the past not only leave an impact on us, but we can bring them up. We can recall them. And what's more, we can work with them. Later on, we will see the great role that summary, insights, decisions, and conscious thinking play in our lives. If we look at our lives in this way, on our relationships, our situations, our events, we will be able to change, make changes, renew, even be reborn. Change, easy to say, but how hard is this really to work on it, to stick to it with perseverance? What did Thomas Merton say? We cling hard, we climb back into the boat of our certain customs and conventions over and over again. Only man is a spiritual being. What does that mean? Only man can come into contact with the more than him, the transcendent God. This encounter is a spiritual experience. In many cases, we don't even know how deep an experience we had. Why? Because it is emotionally upsetting to stay in a situation that drove you out of the safety of everyday comfort zone. It's difficult to stay in this. You can think about a birth or a death or any other deep experience. It may be important to search in our own lives the timeless experiences we live in our time.
Földi létünk közös vonásai.
Common features of our existence on earth. From generation to generation, from father to son, we pass on our knowledge, experience, values, messages, patterns, customs, traditions, countless things, voluntarily or involuntarily, knowingly or unconsciously. And they have a great impact on our lives. In our work, it is a very nice task to dig up the treasures from the family's past that are also a resource. And it's good to separate what are the treasures, what are the things that we want to build into our present life, and what we want to leave behind us or want to change on. I often find, unfortunately, that families know only very little about the lives of their parents or their grandparents. Why do I think it's important to know all this? Why is this important to know about it? Why would that be a resource for us? Often we don't even know that we love or hate or behave as our ancestors. In exploring the family's past, for example, in the case of a father role, we become aware of the mistakes that remained unresolved in the previous generations. This recognition and its correction will help us to move forward. And that will be an advance, a new birth for the whole family. Bad patterns can also become a source of strength. During family exploration on several occasions, the road to healing led the grandchild to grandparents, which was a major resource for his or her development. They meant safety for them because they received time and attention from them. That's where I learned what love is. If we continue to research in the lives of our ancestors, we can find out what gave them strength in their lives, how they, what is the value in their lives, how they were, how they lived in couple, how they received children, how they celebrated, or how they mourned in the event of death. That is very important. Every family is a treasure. Every family has characteristics that are only theirs. Every family has a special atmosphere, taste. An old Franciscan father told me once that when he was younger, he loved to go to the families and he just sat in a corner and soaked up the atmosphere of family life. Our earthly life that is important to know lasts from conception to the grave, from cradle to coffin. Our whole life is characterized by development and growth, horizontally and vertically. We all have a life story, a life path that is only our own and that consists of different stages. These stages are interwoven with a smaller or bigger crisis, foreseeable and unpredictable events.
Nem ez. Ja, de ez. Milyen utakat jár be a család?
What journeys does the family and the single family members walk on? Saint Irenaeus, a church teacher, he was a bishop in France from 115 to 150, stated that the longest journey leads from me to me. Why am I highlighting this idea of Irenaeus? A constant, disturbing search for myself, of who I am. We are looking for where we come from, where we are going. We are looking for our identity, our affiliation, the meaning and purpose of our lives. Pope Jean Paul II in 1981 stated in Familiaris Consortium, I like that phrase very much, wisdom can be reached anywhere in the world by gradual conversion. Throughout the family's life journey, our individual development is complemented by the journey of relationship as a couple. Few only know that the relationship in a couple has different stages of growth too, and that this growth in the couple, in intimacy, is really the fundamental of family life. That is the foundation on where every role in the family can repose. So care for this relationship is very important. A lot of times that's why families come to us. Their work or child raising is so much occupying them that they neglect their couple. Talk out the conflicts will have consequences on the whole family. When parents, for example, are tense with each other in their daily routine, for example, the so-called self-time, child rearing issues, the division of tasks, the management of the family budget, those often take place with struggles, tough fights, disputes, and at the end with agreements, reconciliations. And the child involuntarily learns. He witnesses the tension, but experiences the power of forgiveness too. Every new life situation requires these learning processes. Each stage of life is more complex than the previous one, with new skills developing in each. All this involves a great transformation, which in many cases is burdensome as a process, at the same time a great resource as it results in a quality change. But we need to know that the change is not, change has a cost. A crisis develops when the family is unable to fulfill this developmental task. Family life is stuck and harmony is at stake. What happens at different stages of life? I would highlight the individual stations, the events, the experience of the situations, and the joys that will continue to be the handrails that will always strengthen our common life. Our family life begins with commitment and marriage. Tune into each other, create a home, create a daily rhythm, experience intimacy. All this fills everyday life with magical joy. The symbiotic state in which everything is built on similarity is a period of clinging together. In literature, we can read that at that moment we are blind and deaf for the differences. That is a very important foundation for later times, and we always have to remember this period. When we have problems, we can always remember those times when things went well. But there is really a lot of work also in that stage. With the families, with friends, we have to build new relationships. We live together, we belong to somebody who has to be our priority. The conflict of loyalty is assured. It's inevitable. This parents a little bit draw back so that the young can learn how they would like to live their lives. Even at the birth of the first child, togetherness and unity is characteristic. That is a very strong link. The couple looks forward to the birth of their child. They are filled with hope, curiosity, planning, motherhood, a desire for fatherhood, fills up everything. The whole 9 months are characterized by preparation. In the silence of the maternity room, in the moments of giving birth, amid pain and tears of joy, the baby's first cry. That is one of the greatest wonders of our life. Receiving a child, welcoming a child fills up the life of a family. The child is a very important element of the family and stabilizes the family and its existence. It's a fundamental part of the family. Whatever stages the child goes through, that reinforces the child. When the relationship between the parents is strong enough, then this will work out. Insecurity, rivalries, and these kind of attitudes will do it more difficult to raise that child. In the family, the toddler requires permanent attention even at night. The constant readiness of the parents and the constant care fills their days. And then comes the first very critical period when we don't have a recipe for child raising. We don't know how we should be as a good father or mother, good parent. I have to develop this, learn this by my experiences. It's a huge challenge for the parents, but there's plenty of literature on this topic. After peaceful silence of small school children age, like a hurricane breaks in adolescence, everything is questioned, becomes critical, and anarchic state can develop through dissatisfied demands, tempers, mood swings, and cries. Today, more than ever is that in this adolescence, very, very strong anarchic states can be seen even in very good families. In the midst of all this, it's very difficult to stay strong. Beüte Csaba says for that period, fathers sit at the head of the table. Parents will be insecure, clueless, and their ideas of well-being will fail. They have to face the fact that their child is already on the path to becoming an adult. And their relationship with the child definitely needs to change. The old rules and expectations no longer work. That is a big burden on the parents, and even more on the relationship of the couple. And that is when the first big quarrels appear, usually. It is important for the parents to cooperate, to care for their relationship, to work together, try to understand each other, try to listen to each other. Over time, parents approach their midlife stage having to face unexpected events, such as, for example, diseases. The grandparents decline and have to be cared for or even die. In that time, a lot of children have learning difficulties because in adolescence, the school learning also suffers. Workplace failures, existential changes or questions. I'll tell you a personal story about this. What we lived in our own lives and what cancelled our previous plans. It's not a sad story, it's rather very joyful, but it was really a big surprise. We were a family of 4 children living in a beautifully designed home, and we thought the family size was final and lived happily. To our greatest surprise, it turned out that we were expecting a pair of twins. I won't forget my husband's pale, shocked face. We just had got done with the construction of our home. We had long, quiet days. We turned inwards. And in that silence grew in us the acceptation of our situation. As we prepared, we realized that we would grow out everything, that we had to rethink the rest of our lives. After hard and difficult months, I had to go into the hospital for 2 months, and my husband had to survive at home with 4 small children, which really wasn't easy. After this, 2 wonderful children were born, a little boy and a little girl, and they brought a wonderful renewal to our life. And we mention this still today. That's when we really became really a family. There was a quality change by this event. We would like to emphasize, my husband is now here with me. We would like to emphasize from our own experience that in accepting life events that do not happen according to our will, it gives us great security to dare to count on the providence of our Creator. Around the middle of life, we realize the weight of our tasks, activities, and positions. We face our limits. We have a road already behind us, and we face our limits. It's a mental fatigue that definitely requires silence. Whatever life state we live in, it's going to be like this. Looking back is inevitable. This confrontation can lead to a lot of tough crises, of thought crisis, and the thought may arise in me, and that's a lot of times really we can see this. the feeling arises that I messed up my life. I really say this directly in this way because a lot of people at that point feel that a lot of bad decisions brought them up to that stage. That is a temptation in which one has to ask oneself, what do I do with my disappointments? Because we need to get rid of our illusions. Things happened that I wouldn't have liked them to happen like that, or that hurt, or that are not worked up yet. That's when people come to us with their bad decisions and with a desire to change. It's this midlife crisis. That time is really there so that we can think over our lives, face the truths. Once one realizes that he has reached his limits, looks through his life, faces his pain, and can already rejoice in the good, and is able to give thanks for the past years, he comes into possession of a truth that leads him on the path of freedom. This search for truth awakes him to the will of the Creator God. That is such an experience of our relationship with God, of our relationship to ourselves and to our life, can really change our destiny for the rest of our lives. The other day, I was traveling on tram 6, immersed in my thoughts, when all of a sudden I hear, "Hey, give you a place to that old lady," said a middle-aged man to his son. I thanked, slightly embarrassed, and sat down. Well, yes, it looks like I'm getting old. So we are slowly and unexpectedly confronted with the fact that we have entered senior age. We are immersed in this consciousness because more and more grandchildren surround us, filling us with the radiance of their love, and who understand and feel our peace. The pulsation of everyday life is slowing down. The role of grandparent in helping the young with their small children is very important. Weekend lunches, afternoon games, storytelling, holidays together, those are all very joyful get-togethers, gatherings of friends, encounters that were rare during active life. Now they're taking place again. We have more time to read, to have an intellectual life. And it's a peculiar thing to formulate within a family. As time goes by, everyone individually experiences that he needs the other. While in previous years independence was characteristic, now it becomes more and more important to place emphasis on to appreciate and to accept the values of the other. In this present life situation, I can best illustrate the dignity of senior age with the game that my grandchildren love to put together. That is the puzzle. This is how we build our life story from the puzzle pieces of our lives. You surely know the name of Erik Erikson, who divided the life stages of personality development into 8 stages. After his death, his wife added a 9th stage, which she called Gero transcendence. The essence of this stage is the distance from the world, which the old person concerned experiences in physical weakness, losses, deterioration of vision, hearing, and movement. At that point, we no longer like to meet new people. We feel the need to be alone, to immerse ourselves in thoughts, and to remember. As you move away from the world, your need for transcendent reality grows deeper. We need the kingdom of God. In the teaching of Vatican Council II, we read in Gaudium et Spes 18, it is in the face of death that the riddle a human existence grows most acute. Not only is man tormented by pain and the advancing deterioration of his body, but even more so by a dread of perpetual extinction. That touches every human being. That feeling we have at that stage of life. We would like to leave something after us. We would like to know that we were somebody, and so on. When someone dies, the strange great silence appears, which we experience before birth also. That is the same spirituality like the beginning of life. Caring for our elderly family members, we see how differently they experienced the passing away. Before her death, one of our 87-year-old aunts, who was in her final stages, put it this way: I never thought that I was going to die. Her whole life, she lived in serving and in love. A girlfriend told me that when her mother was dying, she was telling her daughter, "But believe me, I haven't even lived yet." However, one of our uncles, who was 97, was still praying the full rosary the day before his death. And I always remember an old French Dominican sister. She died in the last moment. She got back to conscious, and she said, "Oh, I was waiting so long for this encounter. It is a great secret who lives what in the moment of death. Death is a great mystery, and the life is a great mystery too." I think that is, if we think about this and try to feel how long is the journey of a family, how rich the life of a family is, and I only very densely try to mention some points, all the struggles, all the pathways we went on, all the encounters with our surrounding and with God, that is the dignity of the family. The last Theo speaks of the difficulties of our age. Difficulties of our age, but only some thoughts about that, because in our world there's so many difficulties. I wrote therefore there is a feeling of being lost in the world. I'll just mention something that can be difficulties in a particular way and that we can encounter, for example, the young, the question of commitment, how difficult that can be. And what are the reasons for this? I often search for the reasons of this, and what I see is that they don't have an imagination of the past, as if the future is very unsure. There's no goals, no scenario of life. There are too many road signs. They don't know which one is real, where they can go. Which shows a direction. The internet, the online world, a lot of literature, all this can cause confusion. And I think it's really the sin and mistake to live without faith. There's so few people that can be a pattern, that are authentic and that could be followed, and the young in that aspect are really disappointed, and I think that is a big sin. It's very difficult to start from this point. Because, as I said, the family I come from is very determining for my life, for life after that. We experience that the family we come from, when it's not authentic, when there's a lot of negative examples, then we have people that are about 40 years old, and they ask her, tell me, how am I supposed to live? What are my goals? Because they didn't get any they didn't get any help, any directions from the family they come from. Often, the young people of the so-called value families that live in a nice and good way, the young think that this system is outdated, that model and value system is outdated, and therefore they can't find their own way. Before they lived in traditional families, there was patterns. It was clear how we were supposed to live. Today, everything is everything develops so fast, and there's no patterns. It goes too quick, and it's very difficult to integrate into this. Adolescents, young people, but often adults also are immersed in the phone, the internet, with the aim that they can fill their hunger for information, but already pushing the line of addiction and to the detriment of living relationships. I think it's very important today to be conscious what is important, what is not so important, what do I cling to, and what do I give up. Nowadays, cognitive thinking is very important. Young people already speak a lot of languages and are very well informed, and they know a lot of science and really everything is made in order to have them learn all of this, but at the same time, the affective intelligence is, the emotional intelligence is undeveloped. For the relationships, this would be important. Time and emotional intelligence, maturity. These I wanted just to mention. And then there are some questions that we can also put up. We could reflect on what could we do. But I'd like to underline that a lot of beautiful families exist, nice and value-oriented families. Father Balázs Bársi said in an interview, it is good to see that they are willing to live and to be happy. Usually we easier remind difficult situations and those become the focus, but it's not, it doesn't have to be that way.
Köszönjük szépen az előadást, a gondolatébresztést, és elvittél bennünket a mélységekbe is, meg a magasságokba. Köszönjük szépen, és a kérdéseket pedig itt majd továbbítani tudjuk talán a chatben, hogy lássátok.
Can we maybe copy them into the chat so they can serve as a foundation, a base for the groups, for the workshops.
Tehát akkor most úgy folytatjuk a
Now we
mai összejövetelünket, hogy
program
kis csoportokba fogunk menni.
We go into small groups.
De emlékezzetek rá, hogy mondtam reggel.
Remember, as I already said this morning,
azok, akik a YouTube-on hallgattak, figyeltek bennünket,
followed us on YouTube,
lépjenek be a Zoom-ba,
they can come into the Zoom
és 5 perc
platform right now,
kérünk, amíg
and
ők belépnek a Zoom-ba. 5 perc után fog automatikusan elindulni a
and after that, automatically the small groups, the break rooms will start.
És legyetek türelemmel, akinek nem sikerül csatlakozni, őt nem automatikusan, hanem kézzel fogjuk betenni a csoportjába.
Those who are joining us now, be patient, we will manually send you in small groups.
És ahogy tegnap is volt,
and as
hogy
yesterday is,
a csoport maga osztja be az idejét,
the small
de azért
group
1 órát legyetek együtt.
disposes of his own time, try to work together for at least 1 hour.
És 3:4-12-kor találkozunk a nagy teremben.
At 11:45.
Köszönöm szépen. Remélem mindent elmondtam. Ha valamit nem mondtam volna el, akkor kérem a testvéreket segítsenek be. Elmondtam mindent? Elmondtam mindent. Akkor találkozunk 3:4-12-kor.
At 11:45 in the plenum.